When your wife says she's going to a Pilates training weekend, and you accidentally see her photo on someone else's Instagram at an EDM festival, you realize your life will never be the same again. My name is Gary, I'm 32, and I'm a head chef at one of Brooklyn's finest restaurants. My wife Annabelle is a Pilates instructor with a perfect smile and a body that turned heads everywhere we went. 5 years ago we got married in a small church near Prospect Park, and I was convinced I had found my person forever. But you know what's scariest? Not the betrayal itself. It's that you're the last one to find out about it. Everything started 3 months ago when Jessica, my colleague pastry chef, timidly approached me after our shift. She was holding her phone and looked like she was about to tell me about someone's death. "Gary, I'm so sorry, but you need to see this," she whispered. On the screen was an Instagram profile of some Marcus, owner of a chain of fitness centers. And in the photo, my wife, passionately kissing him against the backdrop of a main stage at some festival. Light beams, crowd, and the two of them as if no one else existed in this world. I stood in the middle of the restaurant kitchen, feeling the ground disappear beneath my feet. My heart was pounding so loudly it seemed everyone around could hear it. "This was last weekend," Jessica quietly added. "She said she was going to a training?" I nodded. "Of course, training. On new stretching techniques. In Connecticut. Only the festival, judging by the geolocation, was in New York State, 2 hours from our apartment. But I didn't say anything to her. Not yet. Because if there's one thing I learned from years working in culinary arts, it's that the best dishes require patience and proper timing. And I decided to wait. The next 2 weeks I lived on autopilot. In the mornings I made breakfast, smiled, kissed Annabelle goodbye. At night I lay next to her thinking, how many times was this? How many lies did I swallow these past months? And then she said again that she was going to a seminar. This time for 3 whole days. And I understood, my time had come to act. On Friday evening, when Annabelle kissed me goodbye and got into a taxi, I got in my car and followed. My hands were trembling on the steering wheel, but I had to know the truth. The whole truth. The taxi brought her not to a hotel, but to a luxurious penthouse in downtown Brooklyn. I memorized the address and waited. 20 minutes later, that same Marcus from the photo emerged from the entrance, tall, fit, in an expensive suit. They embraced so naturally as if they had done it 1,000 times already. I drove home and didn't sleep all night planning. But this wasn't ordinary revenge. I wanted Annabelle to lose what she valued most, her impeccable reputation. The next morning I called all her closest friends. Each one separately. Calmly, almost indifferently, I told them about the affair. Showed photos. Said that she was with him now while I sat at home like an idiot. "Just thought you should know who you're friends with," I said. "She always said you were like sisters to her. I wonder if she told you about Marcus? Or were you also part of her game?" I heard silence fall in the receiver. Annabelle's friends were just as idealistic as she was. They discussed loyalty, honesty, condemned others' affairs. And now their flawless Annabelle turned out to be just another cheater. But this was only the beginning. I drove to the fitness studio where she worked. Met with the owner, Sandra, a woman in her 50s who was known for her conservative views on family values. During the conversation, I accidentally mentioned that Annabelle was currently at a festival with her lover, though she was supposed to be at a seminar. "You see, Sandra, it's just hard for me," I said, pausing in the right places. "She used work time, your money to pay for this seminar, to go to her lover. And I found out by accident. Just wanted someone to know the truth." Sandra was shocked. Her studio was built on reputation, and Annabelle was one of the most popular instructors. Now all of this was under threat. Next, I drove to Annabelle's parents. Her mother, Dorothy, a religious woman who always dreamed of grandchildren and a perfect family for her daughter. Father, Robert, a former military man who taught Annabelle that one's word is sacred. The conversation was difficult. I sat in their living room in the same chair where I sat 5 years ago when I asked for their blessing to marry. Now I was telling them how their daughter betrayed me. "She's pregnant," I said quietly, looking at the floor. "But not with my child. Yesterday I accidentally saw test results. She's planning to get an abortion and didn't tell me anything." This was true. I found records from the clinic in her bag 2 days ago. Annabelle had gotten pregnant by Marcus and decided to hide everything. Annabelle's mother started crying. Her father clenched his fists and stared into emptiness. When Annabelle returned home Sunday evening, she didn't expect what was waiting for her. Her phone was exploding with calls and messages. Friends were writing angry texts accusing her of lies. Sandra left a voicemail about termination. And her parents simply weren't answering calls. Annabelle entered the apartment pale, with phone in hands. She saw me on the couch and understood everything immediately. "It was you," she whispered. "What have you done, Gary?" I calmly put down the book I was reading. "Me? Nothing. I just told the truth to people who should have known it. You destroyed my life." "No, Annabelle. You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone found out about it." She rushed toward me, screaming, crying, begging. Said she loved me, that Marcus was a mistake, that she would fix everything. But the most interesting part was yet to come. "By the way," I said, standing up, "Marcus's wife also found out. Wonder how he's doing now." Annabelle's eyes widened. "What wife? He's not married." I smiled. There it was. She didn't even know. Married, Annabelle. 15 years. 3 kids. I called her this morning. Sent all the photos I could find. Seems like she already filed for divorce and is taking half his business. Annabelle sank to the floor, covering her face with her hands. And in that moment I understood. She truly believed that Marcus loved her. That he would leave everything for her. That they would be together. But Marcus was using her. Just like she was using me. The following months were hell. Divorce, property division, endless meetings with lawyers. Annabelle took half of our joint savings but lost much more. Her reputation was destroyed. The studio fired her without recommendations. Friends blocked her everywhere. Parents refused to communicate for months. And the cruelest part? Marcus really left her. His wife took the kids and business, and he himself moved to another state, trying to start life anew. Annabelle called me one night, drunk, crying. "He left, Gary. He just left. Said I brought too many problems into his life." I was silent on the line. "You were right," she whispered. "He felt nothing. It was just a game. Just like it was for you, Annabelle. Just like for you." I hung up the phone. But let me back up and tell you how I really planned all of this. Because what I did wasn't spontaneous rage, it was calculated, methodical, and designed to hurt in ways that money never could. After I followed Annabelle to Marcus's penthouse that Friday night, I didn't just go home and stew in anger. I sat in my car for 3 hours, watching the lit windows of that apartment, imagining what they were doing up there. Every minute felt like an eternity. Every laugh I imagined hearing from those windows felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. But somewhere around midnight, something shifted inside me. The pain transformed into something colder, sharper. I realized that if I was going to make her understand what she'd done, I needed to be smart about it. Emotional outbursts would give her ammunition to paint me as the villain. No, I needed to be methodical. I drove home and spent the entire night researching. I looked up Marcus online, found his business pages, his social media, everything. That's when I discovered the truth that Annabelle apparently didn't know. Marcus was married. Not just married, but married to a woman named Catherine who frequently posted photos of their 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, all under 10 years old. The hypocrisy was staggering. Here was Annabelle talking constantly about authenticity and living your truth, sleeping with a married father of 3. And Marcus, whose fitness centers marketed themselves as family-friendly spaces, living a double life. I took screenshots of everything. Every photo of Marcus with his family. Every post Catherine made about their life together. I organized it all into folders on my computer, preparing my evidence like a lawyer building a case. Saturday morning I started making calls. But I wasn't just calling Annabelle's friends randomly, I was strategic about it. I started with her best friend, Melissa, who I knew had been cheated on by her ex-husband 3 years ago. That betrayal had devastated her, and she'd sworn she would never tolerate infidelity in any form. "Melissa, I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear me out before you react," I said when she answered. I told her everything. Showed her the photos. Watched as her face went from confusion to shock to rage on our video call. "That hypocrite," Melissa breathed. "After everything I went through, after all the time she told me I deserved better, she's been doing this? For at least 6 months from what I can tell," I said. "Maybe longer. Does anyone else know? You're the first I'm telling." That was intentional too. Melissa was the queen bee of Annabelle's social circle. If she turned against Annabelle, the others would follow. And I was right. By Saturday afternoon, Melissa had told everyone. The group chat that Annabelle was part of, the one where they shared workout tips and made brunch plans, exploded. I know because Melissa, now firmly on my side, forwarded me screenshots. The messages were brutal. "How could you do this? You're disgusting. Don't ever contact me again. Everything you said about loyalty was a lie." One friend, Rebecca, wrote something that particularly cut deep. "My kids looked up to you. I let you teach them about being strong women. What am I supposed to tell them now? I felt a grim satisfaction reading those messages, but I wasn't done. Next, I went to Sandra at the fitness studio. Sandra was in her late 50s, a former dancer who had built her business on the idea of wellness being connected to integrity. She had photos all over the studio with quotes about honesty, authenticity, and living your best life. I met her at a coffee shop near the studio. Laid out the situation calmly, factually. Showed her the timeline, how Annabelle had requested time off for professional development seminars that coincided perfectly with her trips to see Marcus. She used your money, I said quietly. The professional development fund you offer your instructors? She took that money and used it to go cheat on me. Sandra's face went white. Are you certain? I showed her the receipts, the Instagram photos, the geotags. Everything. I trusted her, Sandra said, and I could hear her voice shaking. She was going to be my head instructor next year. I was planning to give her part ownership. I'm not telling you this to force you to do anything, I lied. I just thought you should know who you're doing business with. But Sandra didn't need forcing. By Monday morning, Annabelle had a termination letter waiting in her email. No severance, no recommendations, no explanation beyond breach of professional ethics. Then came the hardest part, her parents. Robert and Dorothy lived in a modest house in Queens, the same house where Annabelle grew up. I had always gotten along well with them. Robert taught me how to properly grill steaks. Dorothy shared her grandmother's cookie recipes with me for the restaurant. They were good people who raised their daughter with strong values. Values their daughter had abandoned. I drove to their house on Sunday morning, before Annabelle was due back from her seminar. Dorothy answered the door, immediately inviting me in for coffee like she always did. Gary. What a nice surprise. Is Annabelle with you? No, ma'am. She's still at her training. That's actually what I need to talk to you both about. We sat in their living room and I told them everything. I watched Dorothy's face crumble as I spoke. Watched Robert's jaw tighten, his military bearing taking over as he processed the information. When I told them about the pregnancy and the planned abortion, Dorothy actually gasped. She's going to, without even telling you? I found the paperwork in her bag, I said. She has an appointment scheduled for next week. Robert stood up abruptly and walked to the window, his back to us. His shoulders were rigid and I could see his reflection in the glass, eyes closed, jaw clenched. I'm sorry to bring this to you, I said. But you're her parents. You deserve to know. Dorothy was crying now, tears streaming down her face. We raised her better than this. How could she? I don't know, ma'am. I wish I did. Before I continue, please pause the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new interesting stories. Thank you. I left their house feeling hollow. This was the moment I understood, there's no going back. I had set something in motion that couldn't be stopped, and part of me wondered if I'd gone too far. But then I remembered Annabelle laughing with Marcus in those photos, remembered the lies she told me every morning, remembered how she kissed me goodbye before going to sleep with another man. No. This was exactly as far as I needed to go. The final piece of my revenge was Marcus's wife, Catherine. This one I agonized over. She was innocent in all of this just like me. She didn't deserve to have her life blown apart. But she also deserved to know who she was married to. I created a fake email account and sent her everything. The photos, the timeline, the evidence I'd gathered. I kept it simple. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but your husband has been having an affair with a woman named Annabelle. They've been seeing each other for at least 6 months. I've attached proof. You deserve better than this. A concerned friend. I sent it Saturday night and felt sick immediately after. But by Sunday afternoon, Marcus's Instagram went dark. His profile picture changed. And I knew Catherine had seen it. When Annabelle came home Sunday evening, she walked into a nightmare of her own making. Her phone had been buzzing non-stop for hours. Friends were blocking her. Sandra's termination email was waiting. Her parents weren't answering her calls. And she had no idea why. The look on her face when she saw me sitting calmly on the couch, reading a book like nothing was wrong, I'll never forget it. Confusion, then realization, then absolute horror. What did you do? She whispered. Nothing you didn't do first, I replied. I just made sure the truth came out. She tried everything. Crying, screaming, bargaining, threatening. She swore Marcus meant nothing, that she loved me, that we could work through this. She even offered to go to therapy, to do whatever it took. It's too late, I said simply. You made your choices. Now you get to live with the consequences. That's when I told her about Marcus's wife. And watching her face as she realized Marcus had lied to her too, that she wasn't his special person, Just another affair he was hiding from his real family, that was almost worse than the original betrayal for her. He said he was divorced, she whispered, sinking onto the floor. He said his ex-wife lived in California with the kids. He said. He lied, Annabelle. Just like you lied to me. Every single day for months. She looked up at me, mascara running down her face. Did you contact his wife? I nodded. She filed for divorce this morning. She's taking the kids and half of everything he owns. His business partners are furious because the scandal is affecting their reputation. He might lose everything. Oh God, Annabelle breathed. What have I done? That's the first honest question you've asked in months. The next few weeks were brutal for both of us, but especially for Annabelle. She tried to go back to the studio, only to find her access card deactivated. She tried to call her mother, who finally answered after a week but could barely speak through tears. Her father refused to talk to her at all. Marcus, meanwhile, had completely ghosted her. Blocked her number, deleted his social media, vanished. When she tried to go to his penthouse, the doorman told her Mr. Harrison had moved out and left no forwarding address. She was losing everything, and there was a part of me, a small, mean part, that took satisfaction in watching it happen. But there was also a part of me that hurt. Because I had loved this woman. I had promised to spend my life with her. And even though she destroyed that, destroying her in return didn't feel like the victory I thought it would. We separated officially after 2 weeks. She moved out to a friend's place, one of the few who hadn't completely cut her off, more out of pity than loyalty. We hired lawyers and started the divorce process. The property division was straightforward enough. We'd bought the apartment together, sold it, and split the proceeds. Our savings were divided 50-50. I kept the car, she took most of the furniture. The whole thing was surprisingly unemotional and businesslike, probably because we'd already destroyed each other in every other way. But the real revenge wasn't the divorce or the money. It was watching Annabelle try to rebuild her life and realizing she couldn't. She couldn't get another job at any reputable fitness studio in Brooklyn because word had spread. Sandra had connections throughout the industry, and she made sure everyone knew why Annabelle had been fired. Professional ethics violations was vague enough to be legally safe but specific enough that people understood. She couldn't reconcile with her friends because they'd all seen her for who she really was. Someone who preached authenticity while living a lie, someone who had comforted Melissa after her husband's affair while conducting her own. She couldn't repair her relationship with her parents because their disappointment ran too deep. Dorothy eventually started talking to her again, brief and painful phone calls where they both cried. But Robert refused. The last I heard, he still won't speak to her. And she couldn't be with Marcus, the man she'd risked everything for, because Marcus had never wanted her in the first place. She was just a diversion, entertainment, something to make him feel young and desired. When the cost became too high, he disappeared without a second thought. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Annabelle called me. It was late, past midnight, and I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. Gary? Her voice was thick, slurred. She'd been drinking. Annabelle. I needed to talk to someone. And there's no one left who'll talk to me. I should have hung up. Should have protected myself from whatever this was. But I stayed on the line. He didn't love me, she said, and I heard her crying. Marcus. He never loved me. He just used me. And I destroyed everything for someone who didn't even care. Yes, I said simply. I loved you though. I did. I know you don't believe me, but I loved you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done what you did. I loved you both, she insisted. Is that so impossible to understand? I loved you for who you were, stable, kind, safe. And I loved him for who he made me feel like I was, exciting, desired, young. This was what she didn't want to hear, but it was crucial. So you loved what we gave you, not who we were. The silence on the other end told me I was right. I'm moving to California, she said finally. There's nothing left for me here. I'm starting over. Good luck with that. Gary? Do you ever think about forgiving me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Because despite everything, despite the betrayal and the lies and the pain, there was still a part of me that remembered the good times. The morning coffees in bed. The way she laughed at my terrible jokes. The night we got engaged under the Brooklyn Bridge. Maybe someday, I said honestly. But not now. Not for a long time. That's more than I deserve, she whispered. Yeah, it is. She hung up without saying goodbye. A year has passed since then. I'm still working at the restaurant, and I've actually been promoted to executive chef. Jessica and I have become closer friends, though nothing romantic. We both agreed we needed time to process our respective relationship traumas. I've been on a few dates. Nothing serious yet, but I'm getting there. Learning to trust again is hard, like learning to walk after a serious injury. Every step feels uncertain, dangerous. But I'm taking those steps anyway. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Annabelle did move to California. She's working as a personal trainer now, one-on-one sessions instead of group classes. No social media presence. No contact with anyone from her old life except occasional calls with her mother. Marcus, on the other hand, lost everything. His wife took half his business in the divorce, and the negative publicity from the scandal caused several of his franchise locations to close. Last I heard, he'd filed for bankruptcy and was working as a regular gym manager somewhere in Florida. His kids refused to speak to him. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what I did, if I think my revenge went too far. And honestly, I don't know. I destroyed Annabelle's entire life because she destroyed mine. I took away her reputation, her career, her family relationships, her friends, everything that mattered to her except money. Was it justice or was it cruelty? Maybe it was both. But here's what I do know. She made a choice to betray me, to lie to me, to risk our marriage for an affair with a married man. She didn't just make one mistake in a moment of weakness. She made that choice every single day for months. Every morning when she kissed me goodbye. Every night when she came home late and blamed it on extra clients. Every time she looked me in the eyes and lied. And I made a choice too. Not to suffer in silence, not to let her control the narrative, not to be the understanding husband who takes her back and pretends everything is fine. I chose to make sure she understood the full cost of what she'd done. Maybe that makes me vindictive. Maybe it makes me cruel. But it also makes me honest. And in the end, after all the lies we told each other and ourselves, maybe that's worth something. I still think about her sometimes. Wonder if she's happy in California, if she's learned anything from what happened, if she ever really loved me at all. But those thoughts come less frequently now and they hurt less when they do. Because revenge isn't about making yourself feel better, it's about making sure they understand what they've lost. And Annabelle understands now. Completely. And you know what the most surprising thing is? The thing that even I didn't see coming until it happened? I don't hate her anymore. I don't love her either. I just, nothing her. She's become a person I used to know, a chapter in my life that's closed. And that feels like the truest revenge of all, not caring anymore. Sometimes Jessica asks me if I'd do it all again knowing what I know now. Would I still systematically destroy her reputation, her career, her relationships? Would I still contact her parents and her friends and Marcus's wife? And every time after thinking about it carefully, I give the same answer, yes. Because she needed to understand that actions have consequences. And sometimes those consequences are exactly as devastating as what you did to deserve them. The story of my marriage to Annabelle taught me a lot of things. It taught me that love isn't enough if there's no respect. It taught me that trust, once broken, can never really be repaired. It taught me that the person you think you know best might be a stranger. And it taught me that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to be ruthless in protecting your own peace. I don't know if Annabelle thinks about me. Don't know if she regrets what she did or if she just regrets getting caught. Don't know if Marcus ever crosses her mind or if she's managed to convince herself that he was the villain and she was just another victim. But I know this, I did what I needed to do. I exposed the truth to everyone who mattered. I made sure that her betrayal had real consequences beyond just our failed marriage. And I made damn sure that she understood, you can't build a future on lies without eventually watching everything collapse. Is that revenge or justice? Pro-revenge or nuclear revenge? I'll let you decide. All I know is that I sleep better at night now than I did when I was lying next to her, wondering if she was thinking about him. And that's worth more than any apology she could ever give. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. The screen now displays a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.